We'll talk about players versus players. Apparently, Richard Sherman and Darrelle Revis are getting into it. For what? For what? Really, for what? Question mark. Burp, dot on that. Also, we'll dip into some other sports. The Astros, they're pretty awesome. I bet they're running a campaign for president. Each and every player, you might as well at this point. The Caps finished the first half of the NHL season in first, which is fantastic. Can they finish the second half as well as the playoffs in first? We'll dip into that. Plus the Wizards. Listen, I thought this was a season where you're rebuilding. You're trying to, all intents and purposes, tank. That's not happening, and that's not a good thing. Plus, we'll go into the Redskins' latest as far as the team is concerned. But first, let's go ahead and dip into the Super Bowl, the matchup. We have joining us right now is a friend to this program. He is head of 2L Media Group, runs sportsjourney.com. You are listening now to Lake Lewis. Lake Lewis, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Winston? How are you?
I'm always good, man. Thank you very much for joining the show. Okay, so 49ers and Chiefs. What are your thoughts on Super Bowl LIV or LIVE? Whichever one you want to do, it's Super Bowl.
I think it's going to be a really good Super Bowl. Hopefully it does live up to its billing. Kansas City right now is a 1.5 point favorite, which tells you that, the odds makers think it's going to be a close football game, as it should be. It's just going to be interesting to see if the 49ers, and that pass rush, that vaunted, pass rush and defense that they have, if they're going to be able to slow down Kansas City's offense and Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So it's just, two compelling matchups on that end. And then on the flip side, it's going to be interesting to see if the 49ers offense, if they're able to, just continue to run the football and steamroll their opponent, because Kansas City's defense has been playing well. And, people don't realize that the Chiefs going into this game are going to be on like an 8-game winning streak, 6 to close out the regular season and 2 in the playoffs. So they're the hottest team in the NFL, believe it or not. So it's a really good matchup.
I was going to ask, what's funny is that during the season you saw Kansas City, they didn't start off well. They lost their first game, I believe it was to the Texans or the Titans. It was somebody, and they lost that first game, and then all of a sudden Mahomes gets hurt, and you're like, well, wow, what's going on here?
Right.
And Mahomes comes back. He seems as if he plays like he's timid a little bit, and then all of a sudden you get to the playoffs, and he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off and no fear at all and running through tacklers, left and right. Was he basically either saving himself for the playoffs in your opinion, or was it just one of those things where, one of those lulls of the season where you're a roller coaster up and down?
No, I think it was just because he was hurt. I mean, and they tried to bring him back early, and then he got hurt again. And so it was just a part of the season where their best player wasn't on the field, and they struggled a little bit. But I think, obviously since he's come back, they haven't lost. And they just look like the team that we envisioned them being, to start the year. I heard you mentioned earlier that, raise your hand if you thought this was going to be the Super Bowl. I mean, I thought the 49ers were going to be much improved, but not this dominant, not so soon. But yeah, I did. I expected Kansas City to be a Super Bowl team, and they proved that. So it's going to be interesting, again, to just see the matchups, Mahomes against that defense, and it's what you want. You want these kind of games. You didn't want to see somebody, get into it out on a fluke. No offense to Tennessee, because they were playing well. They upset New England, upset Baltimore, both on the road. But you could just see that they were out of gas, last Sunday. And, so from a rating standpoint, you really can't get any better than this. You have two storied franchises. Kansas City hasn't won a Super Bowl, been back in the Super Bowl in 50 years. So this is big. And for the 49ers, I think they have a chance to tie like Pittsburgh and
New England.
Yep. Yeah, for the most Super Bowl wins. So it's a lot of storylines on this game, a whole lot. Andy Reid, can he finally get the monkey off his back and, he's clearly one of the best coaches ever. I mean, if you look at the numbers, he's proven that. But definitely for this generation, he's one of the top three coaches in the NFL. So for him, can he get the monkey off his back? Can Kyle Shanahan kind of rewrite history a little bit for the 49ers and kind of get the monkey off his back, because he had the Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago basically all but assured of winning the Super Bowl. And he started calling some crazy plays and they lost to New England, so he gets a chance to do it as a head coach. It's just good storylines all across the board.
Yeah, you you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Andy Reid is 0-1 in his Super Bowl. So is Kyle. Both are 0-1. So it's almost a story of redemption for either coach, whoever ends up winning it. As far as the 49ers are concerned, were you ultimately surprised overall at their season, number one, and their kind of road to the playoffs? Because it almost seemed as if they were, head and shoulders. Once New England, it's almost like New Orleans and Seattle were bounced by their respective teams. It almost seemed like a clear path for San Francisco.
Yeah, it did. And I didn't think Green Bay had a shot. I didn't. And they proved that, San Fran just took their manhood from them. They punked them. And, you just didn't see anyone to be able to, stop them or derail them. And let's face it, I mean, 13-3 on the year, that's showing that you're getting it done. I think for a lot of us, and you were there as well, I just never really saw how good the 49ers were, because I remember seeing them here against the Redskins, and it was a monsoon of a game in the rain, but I wasn't that impressed. I just wasn't. I mean, I thought the Redskins had a chance to actually compete and win that game. But I just think as the season has progressed, you started to see the 49ers really establish not just their identity on defense, but I think they realized, you know what? We don't need Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball 50 times a game, 30 times. We just need him to be efficient when we ask him to pass, because we have a dominant running game. And that's what they're going to do Sunday or next Sunday. They're going to try to run the football on Kansas City, and it's going to be interesting to see if Kansas City decides, hey, we're going to take the run from you and make Jimmy beat us through the air. It's just, I'm curious to see how they're going to play the 49ers, because we already know on the other side of the ball, it's just you got to take Patrick Mahomes out of his game, and I don't think anyone's ever done that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I'm actually excited about it. Not just, the game itself, but, I'm looking forward to getting down to Miami for this. So, yeah, I'm excited across the board.
Oh, did we just break some news? You're headed down to Miami?
Oh, yeah, I'm going.
Oh, man, I guess this is trip number 2 for you in 6 months?
I went to, you mean to Miami. Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. It'll be the second trip. Yeah, and that was business, and this will kind of be a little bit of business and pleasure, a little bit, So, it's close by, and it's something that I have been wanting to do for a while, and the game actually has some luster to it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh man, I'm a little bit jealous right now. You're hitting up Miami again. Trust me, that's going to be fantastic. All right, I wanted to dip in a little something extra. We'll get to the Redskins in a second. I wanted to ask you 2 questions on diversity as far as head coaching jobs are concerned. Joe Judge, question mark, really? And then number 2, Eric Bieniemy and Robert Saleh. Why?
It's unfortunate, man. It is, and I was on another outlet earlier, and they asked me the same question, and I hate that we're in 2020 and we still have to keep having these same conversations, but if you don't see what the NFL is doing right now, you're blind.
Yeah.
And it's quite apparent. What they have done is they've decided, people complained. We all complained about the retread, the old retreads getting fired and getting hired. We complained about it so much they decided to do something about it. Well, now what they're doing is they've decided we're going to go young and we're going to go young coaches. The problem is the majority of these young coaches are white. And the second problem is the majority of these young coaches are white with dads who coached.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you're screwed both ways now. And it's just not a good look for the league when you have 70% of your product on the field is black, African American. You naturally would think that there should be more coaches of that descent, on the field. And it's a shame because the problem stems now where because you don't have younger black coaches, the older coaches aren't going to get opportunities. There's just not even really any older coaches anymore. Romeo Cornell was just fired the other day when the head coach should have been fired.
Right. Yes.
He's the one that made the dumb call, but they made the defensive coordinator the scapegoat and all of that. That's just not a good look for the league. So you go to Eric Bieniemy, there's unequivocally no reason why, and I don't want to hear the whole narrative that Andy Reid is calling the plays. He's your offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, for the most, one of the most prolific offenses in the league the last, 3-4 years.
Right.
He's been there for that the whole time. When you look at the guys that have ascended to jobs, Nagy and Chicago and another gentleman, those guys were on the same coaching staff, Doug Peterson, in Philadelphia. I don't hear anyone saying, well, they called the plays. Andy Reid's still the architect of that offense out there. But they got head coaching jobs quickly. I don't even think anyone knew who Nagy was, but the Bears gave him a head coaching job. So for Eric Bieniemy to not have interviews, I'm not saying you have to hire him because he's African American. No African American wants something handed to us,
Correct.
But to not even be given an interview, come on, man. Let's just call it like it is. If the offensive coordinator for Kansas City was white, he would have an interview. I'm not saying he would be hired, but he clearly would have an interview. I was a little disappointed in the Redskins, actually, that they didn't. And let me rephrase this in the sense that I understand the Ron Rivera hire, and I'm happy with it. I really am.
Right.
And in this situation here, this town, at this time, the Redskins needed a disciplinarian who has a proven track record as a head coach.
Right.
So I understand that. And they did hire a minority at the end of the day. So you can't say that they didn't do something right. But I still think that, unless you were trying to beat, other teams to the punch who were going to try to go after Rivera, which I think is clearly the case, I still think sometimes you just have to do your due diligence before you target one person. Interview and talk to several people because you may find out something from someone else that you weren't prepared to go with. You mentioned Judge in New York. I don't necessarily have a problem with that hire because I don't want to play the race card and say I have a problem because he got the job because he's white. No, they clearly saw something in him that was different, and they offered him the job. I have no problem with that because he's a young guy that was a little off the cuff. He was a special teams guy. We saw that in Baltimore with John Harbaugh. He was a special teams guy in Philly. They loved what they saw in the interview. They gave him the job. The rest is history. He's got a Super Bowl to his credit.
Right.
The problem I have with New York is they freaking hired Jason Garrett as their offensive coordinator. And that's a retread to me. My thing is, I kind of feel like there should be some kind of rule in place. And I know you can't do this because you're taking away people's livelihoods, Winston, but I think there should be some kind of rule in place. And if you get fired, you have to wait a full year before you can coach again.
Okay.
Because you got to open the door up for other people. Step outside the box for once. How many times do we see these coaches that are struggling? I think you just mentioned somebody here just got offered a job.
Yes.
He was fired for God's sake. Fired for doing stupid stuff like sitting Adrian Peterson. You know, but now you get a job, and just like that. And I'm not saying that he can't coach offense, because he can, but come on, man. You got to open the door for some other people, and not people in our world. When you get fired somewhere, it's kind of hard to get a job in that same thing.
I mean, it's almost impossible depending on whether or not that company is willing to take a chance on you. But what company is willing to take a chance on somebody that has failed at doing what you're getting hired to do?
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said that any better.
Yeah.
If they know you failed at it, why would they want to try? What the air smells different in their building? All I'm saying is that there's probably 3 to 4 other people out there that could step in a situation and work wonders if given the opportunity.
Yes.
And that's why, although I'm happy about the Rivera hire, I'm not really happy that he just basically bought Charlotte North. I mean, that's basically what we're seeing. And to me, we've seen that picture before, not just here, but everywhere. It's just a good old boy network. And you just get tired of it after a while. You just want to see something different. And, if it works, it works. If it wins, is great. But I don't know. I guess I've always been cut a little differently, even in our media backgrounds. I don't think I came through the same circuits a lot of people came through, and I don't feel the need to fraternize. I just don't.
Right.
So I try to stand on my own merit, and I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that don't know how to do anything on their own if they're not kind of helped along, and that's what we're starting to see in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you put it well. I mean, the NFL is just pretty much a very fraternal type of organization where they are basically it's basically like their own network, and everybody's getting recycled. And at this point in time, how does the new blood break in? Where does the new blood break in? And at this point, it's not breaking in. And that's just the NFL that apparently we end up having to live with until you have the, not necessarily blackouts, but the protests and and people not watching anymore because of certain things. Lake, wanted to get your thought. Well, wanted to let everybody know that, hey, guess what? Jay Gruden, like you just said, ended up getting a job with Jacksonville. He will be their offensive coordinator, probably taking care of Gardner Minshew or Nick Foles, whoever decides that they want to play that Sunday. So, truth be told, things aren't necessarily stacking up well for him down in Jacksonville, because he's going to end up probably one and done.
Yeah, I mean, or you never know. He could end up inheriting, because he has coaching experience, if things don't work out, with their head coach, who some people thought should have been fired in the first place, Doug Marrone. Maybe Jay, a lot of times we saw it this year here. If somebody has some coaching experience and things don't work out for the incumbent coach, if you have to make a move, you just give it to the guy that's up next. So we could very well see him be the head coach of Jacksonville if things didn't work out.
Ooh.
So, and then I thought too, not to throw stuff out there or speculate, but I personally would say a guy like a Chris Thompson might be the happiest man alive right now, because
my man.
I know Jay Gruden and him are very close, and Chris is I think, unrestricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken.
He is.
He's not too far from that area. He's a Florida guy, and this could be an ideal matchup for him, a match for him, to get back home. And, so I'm throwing the speculation out there, but I'm almost pretty certain that he may end up in Jacksonville.
That would not surprise me at all. You put up some very good points about CT. I mean, as personally, it wouldn't be good to see him leave, but I understand why he would.
Yeah. I mean, we'd like to see him here, of course, but I just don't see how that can happen now. Just you still have Bryce Love, as well. It's just going to be tough, from a money standpoint, because Chris can demand good money. He's proven himself. So, again, I know I strayed there, but just, this is part of the business as well. We just talked about coaches doing it. This could be a situation where a coach brings in a familiar player, somebody that would know their offense, that could help show other people how that offense is how they want things done. Jay Gruden's walking into a situation there where there is some talent in Jacksonville on the offensive side of the ball. But it'll be curious because one of the things we do know with Jay is that he does not stick with the run. And you have a guy like Leonard Fournette down there. Are they going to run the football with him? Because
Right.
they're definitely not going to be throwing him the ball out the backfield.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jay's thing. He's not going to call any runs. It's going to be CT all day out the backfield, all day, every day. Matter of fact, he didn't use all day when he was here. He's gonna throw out the backfield all day down in Jacksonville. Lake, thank you very much. All right, so tell everybody where to find your stuff, especially Super Bowl coverage, since we are going to Miami. Do you have room in your suitcase? Because I can fit. I'm sorry, two of us. Cam said he was down to go too.
Yeah, man. I needed another trip just because it's just been a long year, man. Working real hard, and we're in the new year now, so I'm trying to start things off right, and just had a little bit of a change today. Just let everybody know, I went ahead and had to do some legal stuff with the business, things like that. So so today everything Sports Journey and After Practice podcast is officially under Lake Lewis LLC now. So
Okay.
I just no 2L Media Group, just Lake Lewis LLC. So we just trying to do a lot of things, and got a couple big announcements this week of where you'll be able to see the podcast locally here in the area. But I think a lot of people are going to be really excited about what we're going to let them know on Wednesday of this week. Very excited.
Oh, that's fantastic! Congratulations. That's good news. So no more
Thanks
2L
much.
Media Group. That's Lake Lewis LLC. That's a lot of L's up in there. So let's hope you don't catch an L anytime soon. No more
No.
L's. No L's.
No, none of that, none of that. But yeah, we're excited about it, and got a good group with me doing some good stuff. So yeah, still Sports Journey. It's all still under Sports Journey, but from the legal side of stuff, that we have to do this, get insured, and all these things. So
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, man, it's a lot going on, but it's all great stuff. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's right, man. Make sure it's legal. Make sure it's legal and get that paper. That's Lake Lewis.
Always.
That's Lake Lewis. You can find him Lake Lewis Jr. on Twitter, correct?
Yep. Lake Lewis on Twitter, Lake Lewis Jr. on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh man, you got the Instagrams too? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'm not hating on you. The Instagrams and the Facebooks.
Yeah, I mean, look, nowadays, man, these young kids, they're everywhere. So
Man.
we gotta stay up with the times.
Oh.
You got to.
These kids are terrible, man. All right, man. We'll holler at you, man. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Have fun in Miami.
I sure will.
All right, man. No problem. Thank you very much.
All right,
Ladies,
take care.
ladies and gentlemen, that was Lake Lewis of Lake Lewis LLC. Now LLC. Not you can find everything under sportsjourney.com. So make sure you follow and find him because he's going to be in Miami for the Super Bowl LIV, and he's going to LIV. We got to get into that in the next segment. LIV or LIVE. He's going to be there in Miami for the Super Bowl, and he's going to have plenty of coverage. I guess the first thing I'm gonna tweet him like, where are you eating? Where's the food? Okay, what's the spot in Miami that you're gonna hit as far as the food is concerned? Because I know it's we got to figure this out. We're gonna have. I need Lake Lewis to hit us up with where exactly he's gonna eat. All right, again, a truncated show. As we had some technical difficulties starting off, so we apologize for that. Thank you very much for everybody who's checking in. We got a couple of people, Maurice Hawkins, we got DJ Bland, so thank you guys for checking in. Our questions that we put out earlier, who do you have in Super Bowl LIV, Super Bowl 54? Who do you have in Super Bowl LIV? Again, it's San Francisco against Kansas City. Cam, what do you think, man? I mean, a good offense, two good offenses, matter of fact, but boy, that Kansas City offense is just crazy potent. I mean, you're talking about they can score on just one play, for that matter, just one play, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be the Chiefs that end up winning, and some of this is my heart talking, not just my head. Like, watching Patrick Mahomes is so fun.
Yeah.
Just as a football fan, just to sit there and watch him drop back and pick defenses apart with his eyes, with his arm. So I do hope that because I think that the more offensive this game gets, like if that Chiefs offense is able to overwhelm the 49ers defense, which is an extremely potent unit of its own, like the pass rush that they'll be able to generate with just four people, you don't see that elsewhere in the NFL. That's why they're there.
Right.
But if Patrick Mahomes is able to do Patrick Mahomes type things, and they're able to score points, basically I'll take Mahomes over Jimmy G in a shootout any day of the week. Now, if Mahomes is running for his life the whole time and not able to find his guys down the field, Tyreek Hill, then I think that the running game of San Fran might be able to take over. They might be able to really grind him down. But I'm going Chiefs, I think.
I kind of agree with you. I think that Mahomes, his ability to stretch plays out and extend plays, I think that's, now granted, San Francisco's defense is really, really good. Okay, they're one of the top defenses in the league this year. But if they can get a couple of shots on Mahomes early and kind of slow him down early, get in his head early, they might have a chance. But if Mahomes is able to scramble, to get out of the pocket, and throw that ball down the field look, dude can throw the ball 90 yards flat-footed, and I mean that's not even fair. And then you add to the fact that he actually does have some wheels. That's why San Francisco has to get to him early. I wanted to play a couple of post-game bites from this over the past weekend. Andy Reid, again, one of our questions that we posed in the first segment was, who should Redskins fans root for? Okay, you either have Andy Reid, who used to torment the Redskins as a coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, as well as, let's see, I guess he's 2-0 against the Redskins as Kansas City Chiefs head coach.
That's not that impressive.
I mean, no, it's
Everyone's
not. But
2-0
you got that Monday night game. Remember Monday night where the Redskins? I think that was a game where Josh Norman ended up getting hurt his labrum, clavicle, something like that. And Kirk Cousins threw a pick at the end. It was Redskins had a late push, threw a touchdown to Josh Doxson, but they came up short after.
So just a normal Redskins.
It's
game,
a normal
Kirk
Kirk Cousins Redskins game, precisely. Andy Reid coached the Chiefs to that win, and again, those numerous L's that he gave to the Redskins during the 2000s. But wanted to hear some of his thoughts following the game against the Titans, the AFC Championship game, and how he felt about his team, and I guess his inspiration and how he feels about going to Miami.
I'm proud of our team for the effort that they showed today. Never die is kind of their thing. I mean, it's getting behind like this, tough on an old guy, but they did a nice job coming back. Fired up to go to Miami. Need to get on a diet so I can fit in my clothes so we can go do our thing. But very proud of everybody and the job that they did.
My man is fired up and ready to go. Okay, I don't necessarily believe all of that. No, you're not doing the diet in Miami.
Definitely.
Come on.
Well, he won, said I'm gonna go on a diet, and then he said my post game snack cheeseburger. I don't know what kind of diet that is, but
well, I mean, actually, that's a fantastic diet.
Well, okay.
At that point, it's totally like the Atkins diet. You can eat what you want, right?
Well, he can't eat what he wants. I'm just not sure if most of us wouldn't call that a diet.
No, not
Andy
at all.
Reid, maybe.
Yeah, Andy Reid, maybe. Andy Reid, that's
only one cheeseburger, not two cheeseburgers. Now that's a diet.
That's a diet yes, that's a diet, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's a good cheeseburger. If it's a good cheeseburger, you enjoy it instead of going hardcore eating like 5 Big Macs. You can't enjoy it. You can't enjoy 5 Big Macs. You're good after one. When's the last time you had a Big Mac?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's hard to enjoy one Big Mac.
Yeah,
one's pushing it. 5.
that's a once a year thing. Sorry, McDonald's. I mean, you have other sandwiches, but yeah, it's a once a year thing. Maurice Hawkins checking in saying that he's going with Chiefs. He says that Patrick Mahomes is advanced gridiron weapon system. That would be just about where I would put him as well.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's almost like if you ever watch Knight Rider, and for some reason I've been watching Knight Rider at 2:00 in the morning. You watch Knight Rider, and it's sort of like Kit before he had all the wings and stuff like that. Patrick Mahomes is Kit with all the wings and everything like that. So that sounds about right. Thank you very much for Maurice for checking in. So I wanted to dip into a couple of other sound bites from championship weekend. All right, so you have the storyline of Raheem Mostert. Okay, this guy had been with several different teams, and all of a sudden he just ran shot over the Packers. Like Lake said, like everybody, a lot of analysts have said that San Francisco runs the ball extremely well. That stretch run play that the Shanahans have had, throughout his entirety of his coaching career. Kyle speaking, learned it from his dad Mike. Had that system here, was extremely effective with not only Clinton Portis, it was effective with, let's go, Ryan Terrain, Liddell Betts, Alfred Morris. I mean, you can go down the line. These are guys, these are no-name guys. And the Shanahans continue that no-nameness by having Raheem Mostert with a huge game in the championship, NFC Championship. Here's Mostert on his day and where he draws his inspiration from.
It's crazy that I've been on 7 different teams. I actually still have, the cut dates, and I look at that every before every game. I look at the cut dates when I got cut. Been on, like I said, been on 7 different teams, and the journey has been crazy. Not everybody can deal with that type of stress and pain and agony that I went through. But like I said, I kept the faith in not only myself, but whoever gave me the opportunity, and this organization has done a great job with that.
All right, that was Raheem. Look, after you get cut by 60, I think you would have motivation. Motivation, that failure, I mean, it drives motivation. It is inspiration, exponentially. Because, I mean, you figure, like, imagine Michael Jordan. He got cut from his high school team. Guess what ended up happening to him? Best basketball player of all time.
Good.
Yeah. He was pretty good after that. So sometimes it's okay to fail, just as long as you learn from your failures and it drives you. And that's how you get a day like Mostert had against the Packers. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take our first and final break. We'll come back. We'll talk about other DMV sports. When we come back on Redskins Relaunch, I'm your host, Winston Hylton. We'll be right back.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. DMVSTREAM.COM, the Mid-Atlantic's leader in sports video, broadcasting, and live streaming. Contact us today to learn more about our services and streaming packages. Visit us on the web at DMVSTREAM.COM. That's DMVSTREAM.COM.
I get right there, Calais. I right out. Hey. Lido, man. Now we with a kind of car we go to. That way I get a buco like my back. Oh, damn. It's Kyoto. We live by another day. We live by another day. Yes. Well, in there. Digo, de tan babe bouger on the vie,
we saw that the national championship would be in the Superdome at the beginning of the year. We set out
Go Tigers.
target on
Go
that,
Tigers.
although we did not
Go
talk
Tigers.
about it.
Go Tigers. That was Coach Farmer Friend. If that reminded you of anybody, Coach Ed Orgeron of LSU, the national champion LSU Bayou Bengals, the Tigers, it would be Farmer Fran from the Water Boy. Congratulations to all of the LSU family that's out there. Darius Geis taking a trip to the White House because of it. So, and taking a picture with Mike Pence earlier this week. So, congratulations to him and congratulations to the LSU family. All right, wanted to dip into some other DMV sports issues. Listen, cheaters never win, right? Cheaters never win.
They win twice.
No, apparently they win. Yeah, they win. They win once, and they get to the championship or the World Series twice.
Well, and the Red Sox too. So
and the Red Sox too. Yes.
Poor Dodgers.
Cheaters never win, but apparently they do in baseball. With the exception of Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Rafael Palmeiro and Sammy Sosa and Mark. Anyway, the Astros scandal. I failed to mention that last week. We didn't have enough time to get to it last week, but I wanted to bring up the Astros scandal in baseball. Listen, Cam. I don't even know where to go, but other than if you're Los Angeles, the Dodgers, if you're the Yankees, you have to be out beside yourself with rage because you basically got cheated out of a chance. Well, for the Yankees, a chance to get to the World Series, and for the Dodgers, 2 World Series championships.
Like, it's not that surprising in baseball because it feels like in baseball every 15 to 20 years or something like this. I mean, you go all the way back to 100 years ago with the Black Sox. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, and the other thing about baseball is that there's a certain amount of cheating and gamesmanship that's allowed. If anything, it's encouraged. Like if the Astros had just been stealing signs, I want to say the old-fashioned way, just by watching pitchers and different stuff like that, guys on second base, that they'd be applauded for that. If
you're fine.
Exactly. But then they get the video recorders, they get the buzzers involved, and it's just gross for baseball. Just as for 2 of their past 3 championships, and thank God.
The Nationals won.
God, the Nationals won for
goodness.
baseball.
Yes.
If they've got 3 in a row, if they're sitting there and the Astros have won 2 out of the last 3, the Red Sox in the middle doing the same thing, and you got Alex Cora through all this, and AJ Hinch and everybody, that's a serious problem.
Yes.
Thank goodness the Nationals won this most recent one, and I think that they've got to come down way harder than they have thus far on the Astros, on individual players on the Astros. And something's got to happen to the Red Sox too, because this, people will be dissuaded from doing this exact same thing again, but you need to dissuade them from doing something else.
Yes.
Because people aren't even thinking about right now what the next cheating scandal is going to be, but there's going to be another one. You need to be dissuaded from that one as well as punished for this most recent one.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, I'll use the latest scandal earlier in the week was, Altuve and his niece coming out with, a tweet saying that he didn't want to have his jersey ripped off after the Chapman home run, his home run against Aroldis Chapman to win the American League pennant. He didn't want to have his jersey ripped off because he had a buzzer on his shoulder. Listen, I think those players need to be reprimanded, need to be punished, as well as I'm not so far against from pulling their titles. I am not against it because didn't that happen to USC? Their title was vacated. I know we're talking about, professional sports versus amateur sports, but it's still in the same. You're talking about a city, Los Angeles, that now has to, wonder what if. You have a team of players and a city that has to wonder what if they had not cheated. What if they had not cheated? Boston as well. What if Boston Red Sox had not cheated? Thank goodness the Nationals did win. So there is that. But luckily for baseball, the Nationals did win. Luckily for DC, because could you imagine what would have happened had the Astros won the World Series this year?
Well, we'd be feeling a lot like LA does right now.
Oh,
but
trust me, there
as
would.
far as individual, and especially talking about, because right now the Hall of Fame voting happened yesterday. Derek Jeter almost unanimous, one vote away.
Yes.
Which that's a whole other issue. But
Yes.
Derek Jeter getting in. I think that Altuve specifically, and some of the other major players on that Astros team, like, should be absolutely, definitely not allowed into the Hall of Fame. The same way, if
The
you're not
same
gonna
way
let
Bonds,
in,
the same way Clemens,
all those
absolutely.
guys, if you're not going to let them in, which I like, that's a whole separate issue. But if you're not going to let them in, you cannot let Altuve in. You cannot let Bregman in. Those type of guys.
Absolutely, totally agree. If you're not going to let Bonds in, Clemens in, you can't let Altuve, Bregman, some of those other guys. Now, I mean, it remains to be seen whether or not they're actually Hall of Fame worthy.
They might not be worthy.
They may
but
not.
As of right now.
Yes, correct. I mean, even in this World Series, you heard people talking about, Altuve being, Hall of Fame worthy. I'm like, he still has another 7 to 12 years left on his career. Let that play out. Even if he were to stop playing today, he's still not Hall of Fame worthy. There's no chance that he ends up Hall of Fame worthy. So no, A, and then B, let's talk about the Hall of Fame and Derek Jeter. I have no problem at all with him not being a unanimous vote in being elected into the Hall of Fame. And here's the reasoning why. There have been other players who were better at their position than Jeter was at shortstop. Jeter at shortstop was good, but he wasn't as great as Ozzie Smith. He wasn't as great as Cal Ripken. He wasn't as great as several other guys at that position. Barry Larkin, for that matter, he wasn't nearly as good as some of those guys. He had much more team success, and he may have had more clutch hits than those guys. But as far as being the best shortstop of all time, which should get you automatically into the Hall of Fame, which would be, at least for me, unanimous vote into the Hall of Fame, I would have to say no, Derek Jeter was not. Guys like Ken Griffey should have been unanimous. Guys like Hank Aaron was not unanimous. Are you kidding me? Guys like Willie Mays was not unanimous. Come on, man. Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb. You're talking about some of the best. Babe Ruth was not a unanimous selection. So please forgive me for saying that. No, Derek Jeter should not have been a unanimous decision. So what are your thoughts?
Well, it comes back to, I agree that there are other people in the history of the MLB that should have been. Like 100%. All the guys you just named should have been unanimous, every single one of them. Derek Jeter also should have been unanimous for me. Like, when you think about what makes a Hall of Fame resume, you don't have to be the best ever at your position. Like, there will be center fielders that come after this that are not as good as Mike Trout that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But you don't have to be the best ever at your position, but when you look at clutch hits, the fact that he was captain for that Yankees team for so many years, all the games he played, he was still a phenomenal hitter, phenomenal at defense. When you put all that together, it's impossible for me to say he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And it's just that the Hall of Fame voters in MLB, more than in any other sport, they've got this complex about them where they can't let people be unanimous. Like, there was one guy, there was literally one vote. It was one guy saying, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the one guy, the one reason that Derek Jeter's not unanimous Hall of Famer. And, like, there's no, that guy's making it about him, not about the career of Derek Jeter. And, on a day when it should be all about the captain. And I hate the Yankees, but when you look at what Derek Jeter did over his career, there's no question in my mind he's a Hall of Famer.
I don't disagree with a lot of the things that you said. With the exception of for me, he's not a unanimous Hall of Famer. Clutch hits, everything like that, yeah, absolutely. The way he carried himself on and off the field, absolutely. But as you know, with Jeter and those Yankees team, which I am definitely not a Yankees fan, specifically because of one of the first home runs that he ended up hitting in the postseason was against the Orioles. And it was the whole Jeffrey Mara thing when the boy, fan interference, reaching over the dang on fence and basically stole, that basically jumped, that catapulted the Yankees dynasty probably a year or two. If not, you would have had the Orioles in that World Series, and who's to say whether or not they would have won, but it catapulted the Yankees in that 96 season. Yes, so Jeter in, definitely first ballot. I would say yes, first ballot Hall of Famer. And I don't even think it's necessarily that guy vote. What happens if somebody, those ballots are kept secret? So there's no, that guy would not have known he would have been the only vote. Somebody else could have voted no. He doesn't know that. So I don't know if it was necessarily about him as far as his, I heard this somewhere. It was either Tom Lavero or Mark Zuckerman. They basically may have made an alibi or an excuse for said voters. Just maybe that guy wanted to see some of the other guys on the ballot in at that last mark. Larry Walker also getting elected. This was his last year that he was going to be on this ballot. So there are other guys that were on the ballot that were in their final year, and that voter may have thought that, some of the other guys were worthy in their last opportunity to get elected more so than Derek Jeter on his first shot. I don't know.
I buy that.
I don't know if that is the case, but I could buy that. I don't think you would. Look, Hall of Fame. If you're have that clout enough to be a Hall of Fame voter, then you have some clout in baseball, you have some knowledge about baseball. So I could definitely see that, and I don't disagree with said voter. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I will say that, but yes, as much as I hate the Yankees, I do like Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
When I played, I had a couple of Jeter cleats, which that's the ultimate form of respect because I don't like the Yankees, but I respect Derek Jeter. All right, so let's turn to the Caps. Finished the NHL season in first place. Ovi not playing an NHL All-Star game this weekend, so he'll be suspended for a game. I guess it's just a longer vacation for Ovi, which is just fine. Can they carry that momentum into the second half? Even though Hope's not necessarily playing well at this point, you probably end up having to play Samsonov a little bit more than you want to, but you let the rookie get a little bit of get his sea legs about him as he enters the playoffs, and let Hope rest.
Samsonov's been awesome.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's like, yes, Hope is not playing well, and I think that the best version of the Caps, like the only version of the Caps that I think can challenge for a Stanley Cup, because we know how hard that is to do. Like we've seen better versions of Caps teams not get there. The best version of the Caps has Holtby playing at an elite level, but this version of the Caps with Samsonov playing as well as he is, I think just ride him. He's hot. It's the same thing like in baseball when you've got you've got two second basemen that are both fine, and one of them's hitting 500. Keep hitting him. Like he'll eventually stop hitting 500, and then you can go back to the other guy. But right now, just ride with him.
Yeah, absolutely. In the Capitals championship run. If you remember, Holtby went through a stretch near the end of the season where he was not playing as well. And all of a sudden, Michael Neuwirth, Trotz put out Neuwirth, and he did well towards the end of the season until that first couple of playoff games where the team that was up 2-0. Was that Columbus?
Jackets?
Yeah, Columbus, they were up 2-0. Neuwirth did not play well. Trotz said, okay, well, you know what? Let's go back to our guy, and Holtby. And Holtby stood up. He redeemed himself for a week's showing towards the end of the season, and he carried the Caps to the Stanley Cup. So maybe we're on the same path as that again, where Holtby, basically redeems himself towards the end of the season.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Look, no matter, I don't care who it is. If Samsonov is the guy, let him do it. If Holtby's going to be let him do it. Just show and prove once April comes around. May and June.
Yeah,
it's not going into July,
so
but
late.
NHL playoffs is like 3 months. It's like, good gosh, can you just look?
It's the middle of June. You're sitting there. You're like,
And ice?
Wait,
And ice?
hockey
In
Like,
Los Angeles and Arizona? Come on, man. What are we doing over here? All right, so we're gonna pretty much close out the show now. Wanted to take some time in order to remember one of the greatest coaches ever in the history of team sports, not only in basketball, every sport. And that would be Morgan Wooten, who passed away on Tuesday night at the age of 88. You're talking about 1,200 wins as a high school coach, over 1,200 wins, excuse me. 1,274 wins as a high school coach at DeMatha. 33 WCAC titles, 5 national championships, 31 NBAers, a couple of Hall of Famers. I mean, the list goes on and on. He's had hundreds and thousands of players, hundreds of players move on into adult life as well as to coaching and successful businesses, successful in their fields. I mean, if there is a better person other than probably John Wooden, I don't think there has been a coach that has been as impactful to a school, several hundred thousands of people, a city, and a way of life as Morgan Wooten was to DeMatha basketball and to head coaching high school basketball in this country. He is a Hall of Famer, one of 3 high school head coaches to enter the Hall of Fame. Myself and Alex Parker, we often used to go down the line and say, okay, well, you know what? This was when the Mount Rushmore thing was kind of hot. We said, okay, what was your Mount Rushmore as far as DC sports were concerned? For the life of us, we really couldn't come up with players that were, Mount Rushmore worthy. Maybe one player, and that was John Riggins at that time. And since then, I think, Riggo has been leapfrogged by Alex Ovechkin. Okay, let's just say that Alex Ovechkin would be on your Mount Rushmore of Washington D.C. sports. We're not ready to put the Nationals in there quite yet. We let Strasburg and Soto, some of those guys play out. But where we came back to was with coaches and personalities. And one Mount Rushmore piece would be probably Joe Gibbs. 3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks, different eras, so to speak. He would be one person on Mount Rushmore. The other would be John Thompson. Total culture change. Listen, I've often had friends tell me that they thought that Georgetown was a historically black college and university because Georgetown was so strong as far as basketball was concerned. He ushered in a different generation of basketball as far as college was concerned, because before that it was, Adolph Rupp or Bird from Maryland. It was a predominantly Caucasian coach that was leading teams to glory as far as NCAA championships were concerned, D1 that is. And then Coach Big John comes out and he went with Georgetown, has a lot of success with Georgetown. 82, 83 finally winning it. 82 falling short against North Carolina. 83 was North Carolina State. 84 coming up big, winning that first championship, and then 85 falling short against Villanova. That loss pretty much still hurts me. Pretty much still hurts. I was a young little tyke. But he would be another one of those on the DC Sports Mount Rushmore. The last guy we came up with was obviously Morgan Wooten, because he ushered in, look, that Power Memorial game where his DeMatha squad ended up beating Lou Alcindor, which, later became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Alcindor had won 71 straight games. He had not been held under probably 40 points in his high school career up until that point. It was held to 16 in that game. That was held at Coalfield House, which was a sellout. And just the amount of success that he had at DeMatha. The guy's a Hall of Fame. He was the first coach to reach 1,000 wins across the dang on board. Okay, he was the first coach to do that. So you really do have to give it up to Morgan Wooten, and our thoughts and condolences go out to the DeMatha family. Talk to several different DeMatha guys today. Obviously, they're hurting, but I feel as if that Coach Wooten left the program in good hands. Left the school in good hands, for that matter. I mean, a lot of his players ended up going back to DeMatha to coach or to become teachers or administrators or what have you. He just built he put high school sports on the map. Listening to some of his interviews with, different TV outlets, specifically, I put one together for WJLA.com. So if you go to WJLA.com, you can see basically Morgan Wooten in his own words throughout the years. And he often said that, that was his lasting legacy was the players that he left behind, and that, beating Power Memorial, basically before that, high school sports really wasn't a thing. And then that game happened, and such the buzz going behind that game, and then coming out of that game after that upset, it put high school sports on the map. It put high school sports on the map. You don't have AAU teams without that win. You don't have, such and so on ESPN without that game. Heck, DeMatha and Paul VI and name the other team that was at the spring.
St. John's.
St. John's. There was another team that was at the Springfield tournament. You don't have those tournaments on TV without that DeMatha win. So, in big ups to Morgan Wooten. Our condolences to the family, to his immediate family, to Coach Joe, coaching at O'Connell. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, as well as the DeMatha family. So we wanted to, sorry for we had to talk about Coach Wooten and his impact on the DC sports world, not only high school wise, but as well as up and down the board, because at this point he would be on that Mount Rushmore DC sports, and rightfully so, because his legacy continues to live throughout the countless players and young men that he had an impact on at DeMatha. All right, with that said, we're going to wrap up everything here on Redskins Relaunch. We went a little bit late. We had a late start, but we thank you for sticking with us. To DJ Bland and Maurice Hawkins and Irvin Prince, thank you very much for watching. Newcomer to the show. We appreciate your views. We appreciate your thoughts and comments. We ask that you leave us comments on our Facebook page, DMVSTREAM.COM, or my Facebook page, Winston Hylton, or on Twitter, as well as DMVSTREAM.COM's website, DMVSTREAM.COM. You can leave us comments or suggestions right there. You can catch each and every episode of Redskins Relaunch right there on DMVSTREAM.COM. All right, for Cam, hitting the switches over there for Lake Lewis, we thank him for joining us. We'll catch you next time on Redskins Relaunch, where we will preview Super Bowl LIV or Super Bowl Live. What happens when the E gets added to the end of that the Roman numerals?
The number gets low. I'm not sure. We've got a full week to figure it out.
Look, we have quite some time. So for myself, Winston Hylton, we thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week right here on Redskins Relaunch.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.